Welcome to today's mentorship meeting. I hope you guys all had great holidays and had a decent break. Um, so today we're going to be looking at some pronunciation. So the usual table of contents, we're going to start off with introduction, reminders, and such. And then we're going to get into teaching pronunciation, pronunciation sample lessons, and resources at the end before we're going into breakout rooms. So first, for our reminders, I don't think it's anything new. But again, for anyone who missed the award ceremony back on the 11th, I think, of December, your awards should be mailed out this month, so January. Okay, let me post that. And there's also the upcoming mentorship schedule. Let's see. Just a reminder for any tutors who don't know, it is required for you to attend at least one mentorship meeting a month. I highly recommend you come every other week whenever we cover new content. Just because it's more useful, but you can always go back into the general curriculum and access the presentations for whichever topic it is. It should be linked beneath its header, like pronunciation that we're doing right now. It's already linked in the general curriculum in the pronunciation section. Same with grammar and listening and so on. And then the APP masterclass is open. Just a summary of what that's for. If you're a tutor, you can apply to join the masterclass, which is you would be still tutoring students English, but you as the tutor must be fluent in like reading, writing, speaking, and listening of the specific Asian language on top of proficiency in English. So that's the main difference between the masterclass. And it's not required. You can apply if you're interested. And then for tutor policies, please see page 10 and beyond of the APP info doc. And the tutor contract for any new tutors must be turned in or your tutoring will be terminated. So that's it for the intro for today. So now we're going to get into teaching, listening. And we're going to start off with an introduction to pronunciation.
So when starting to teach pronunciation, you want to keep a few important things in mind. So the basic vowels in English, a, e, I, o, u, regular verbs, and how those endings sound, voiced consonants, voiceless consonants, and the common suffixes for many words.
So we kind of like split up different content and material for each level of where your student would be with pronunciation. So we have 4 levels: novice, intermediate, advanced, and then like superior. Novices should focus on like the accurate pronunciation of basic vowels and consonants, and they should be working towards understanding the levels of individual sounds. So maybe not like vowels together, but each individual vowel. People who are at the intermediate level should start working with simple words, and you should start introducing ideas of adding stress to certain parts of words to make it a little bit more natural when speaking. And they could possibly struggle with longer words, and that can help you kind of classify them to which level they're in. For advanced, students can comfortably like pronounce common words by themselves without needing help or reminders, but they might struggle with connected speech and sounding natural when they're attempting sentences. And then for like the superior level, would just be comfortably speaking and producing sentences by themselves. And there's a proper use of intonation and stress that sounds natural, and it's placed in specific areas of the sentence.
So for sample lesson development for pronunciation, you can start off a class breaking words into sounds. Take your time to pronounce thoroughly, really breaking up the words, probably with their syllables, and then have your student practice on their own and listen to themselves, and then learn new phrases, sentences, and embrace mistakes. And a lot of the time, as a tutor, what you'll want to do is listen to your student and like on your own, like write notes, like mistakes or something they can improve on. And then once they've finished speaking, then you can give them critiques.
So here are just some strategies, for the learner and, as the tutor to sort of help the learner engage with this. So knowing what they sound like. So it's important for them to recognize the pronunciation errors. So a good method is recording oneself and, hearing, even though that may seem kind of weird, just, hearing yourself. It's important to know, for them to know how they sound so that they can understand where they're falling short. Breaking it down, breaking down the speech and targeting the specific areas that are causing problems and giving feedback based on that. Listening and imitating, so imitating native speakers. And an interesting tip is, listening to the news or other media in that language to better understand it, and slowing it down before speeding it up. Obviously, we want them to speak slower and emphasize proper pronunciation before speeding up.
And just in the presentation, there are some optional videos that you can try incorporating into some of your lessons. As a tutor, you can either like actually show them in your lesson with your student, and like pause it and go along and maybe make a practice out of it. Or you can watch it independently and try like taking inspiration from it, or thinking of ideas that you can incorporate into your lessons and so on. They're just pretty useful videos. The first one, the first video talks about mouth exercises with pronunciation. And then the other one is English pronunciation training. So this is it's more like unique kind of like exercises that your student can practice in class on their own time to further familiarize themselves with how their mouth is supposed to feel when they're pronouncing certain things, and other types of pronunciation tips as well. Okay, finally looking at our sample lesson. Okay, so for the different sections, second. For the different sections of your class, you can start off with normal conversation with your student, probably asking them simple questions like, how was your break? What did you do over the weekend? And things like that. And this can also determine your student's proficiency level at pronunciation. And then section 2, you can go over pronunciation strategies and tips, introduce new ways to apply these strategies in practice. So just introducing material and then applying it. Section 3, involves students' independent practice or homework, repetitively going over pronunciation strategies, and asking questions to further understanding.
So like the first practice you could do is like identifying a consonant or vowel which shifts in pronunciation, and then like linking specific words that exhibit this change. So before reciting each word, make sure that you're emphasizing the different pronunciation and highlighting where it occurs. A good example of this is the letter G, because it goes between two main types of pronunciation. You have the soft G, which is like how J is pronounced, and then you have like the hard G, which is like ga, like it's a little harder. And then like a list of these words could be like goose, great, good, etc. And soft G words include like giant, geography. But also as you're trying to incorporate more difficulty, ensure that you're including words that use the sound a little later in the sentence, because the first examples all have it at the beginning of the sentence, which your student can get used to and think it's only like happening there. But in words like age, page, bag, fog, stuff like that, it starts occurring later in the words.
So for practice 2, you guys can practice pronunciation by, just simply speaking to the student. Practice conversations where you just make sure that you're commonly giving them this chance to speak, reading aloud with the student, popcorn reading or activities like that, and having them read, and you take notes and give them feedback based on pronunciation, and watching videos in English, like English videos, and helping them listen for pronunciation and immersing in the language and the proper pronunciation, and having them probably repeat, parts, bits and pieces of the audio so that they can imitate it as accurately as possible.
And finally, for some additional pronunciation, like outside of class, along with the resources to wrap it up for breakout rooms.
When assigning pronunciation homework, you can try giving like a vocab list and having your student write the phonetic pronunciation and present the list to your next class. Then provide them with activities, videos for them to go over, and have them take screenshots of their work, write it down, or record. And if you're available, your student could use a recording application like Screencastify or Reverb.
And then finally, just with some extra resources that you can use for lessons and in-class stuff. We just have some activities and then some content that you can look at. Some activities, there's odd one out, looking at like a group of words and picking out the differences between them, even if they look the same, like words that look like they should rhyme but don't actually. You can have your student pick those out. Tongue twisters often greatly help with pronunciation, though they can be pretty frustrating. Some misc pronunciation activities and exercises. And then for the content, I think minimal pairs is more of a lesson plan, and it discusses different patterns you see in pronunciation, phonetic awareness and sound pronunciation, teaching pronunciation, English pronunciation dictionary, rules and practice, and the IPA. A couple of these links, the phonetic awareness, I think the English pronunciation dictionary, but I'm 100%, in the International Phonetic Alphabet, that deals with phonetic symbols, and those are always good as a tutor to learn them, because a lot of the time, as you probably know, English is not a phonetic language, and it gets kind of frustrating sometimes. So the phonetics symbols often help you differentiate how something is supposed to sound. And I'm pretty sure one of the videos linked in the previous slides talks about how to utilize like the IPA and the phonetic symbols. If you want to check that out, though, of course, it's not required of you. It just helps a lot with pronunciation. And that is it for the presentation. And stop my recording.